We are streaming now. YouTube.com/Michael Malice Official. All right, people. Hold on a second. Like share screen settings, audio. We're going to give people a second to get in here. I'm going to give a lot of thoughts about what's going on in the Supreme Court, some other news to update you all on. Hope you're all having a good... oh, we got 100 people here already. Oh, that was fast. Okay. Oh, I don't have time to catch my breath. Okay. Okay, let's get going. I thought I'd have a minute. So one of the things I forgot to do last time when I did my mukbang, if that's how it's pronounced, there's a store here in Manhattan and Lower East Side. They moved fairly recently. I forget what they're called every time. Easy win for Drumpf now. No, they're pulling out all the stops, the cathedral. You don't know that. So there's a store in Lower East Side, and they have stuff from like Singapore and Iceland and Britain and so on and so forth. And I got a bunch of stuff last time, which I tried on the stream. And I forgot that they also had this, which I got, which is Kakapo, Joy Juice. So it's like, all right, let's try what this is. And I thought for a second it's a reference to the Kakapo, which is a flightless parrot, the world's largest parrot. They live near New Zealand. They were critically endangered, and this is one of those success stories where they basically found all of them. There were like 100, put them on a different island, got rid of the rats that were exterminating them in their home island, and then they brought them back, and it's a great success story. I do love them. So, but it's not. The Kakapo is from New Zealand. This is from Singapore. It says, did you know Kakapo is a citrus-flavored soda inspired by an Al Cap comic strip in which the two characters brew the magical liquor named Kakapo Joy Juice? Well, I should have read that first. This expires in a couple of weeks. Let's check it out. I do like that sound. Not gonna lie. All right, so it's yellowy. It's pretty tasteless. I've never had a soda this tasteless. It's like my tweets. It's like diet mellow yellow. You know how diet like Dr. Pepper is like a watered down Dr. Pepper? This is like is pretty tasteless, and it has a lot of sugar in it. So that's very weird. It doesn't even taste that sweet. Okay, we got a lot of drinks to drink today. So I had some big career news, and I can't announce it because I told them I'd wait until Monday. So you're gonna have to wait until Monday. It's nothing that exciting. Don't worry about it. But like it's something everyone will be happy about. I am quite confident to say. Oh, excuse me. So let's talk about this. Hey, Michael, would you consider interviewing Nick Fuentes? Believe it or not, I'm a fan of both of yours. I think it'll be interesting. The problem with me interviewing Nick is that once, like I had Cernovich on, who's a very close friend of mine who I adore, on You're Welcome. And as a consequence of this, some people refuse to do the show. So you have a certain bandwidth of like, if you go this far to the right, you can only get guests this far to the left of them. So it becomes a cost-benefit analysis. So it's just the cost would outweigh the benefit in that. I talked to obviously people who are far more controversial than Nick for the book than you write. Can we see the new painting behind you? Are those hot dogs in the background? They're red pills. This is from Tho Bishop. He sent it. It's how do I do this? I'm such a boomer. Okay. I'm all like, yeah, there you go. So that's me when I was on Rubin. So yeah, there's that. Whew. So here we go. Okay, so let's talk Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I am honestly, okay, you've been dropping nukes on Twitter lately. I love it and appreciate your work. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. That is very nice of you. I'm honestly very shocked. Whoa, okay. If ACB gets the nod, Amy Coney Barrett, Barnett, whatever her name is, Democrats have to go in on attacking a woman and a Catholic weeks before an election. You're absolutely wrong. They don't have to attack her at anything. All they have to say, fairly, is that Republicans are being hypocrites, that they refuse to have hearings from Merrick Garland, and we're not having this conversation. So they don't have to go in that at all. I will be talking about the Supreme Court. Immediately begins reviewing avant-garde sodas. Okay, I don't think you have an understanding what the term avant-garde means. Because if it's like a degenerate version of like slice, red pills make a lot more sense. LOL, thank you. You are welcome. So, okay, this is, I'm really, what wars were worth it for humanity as a whole? This is a $2 question for you. I don't, dude, let's talk about Supreme Court. Come on. What's the matter with you? What's wrong with you? What's the matter with you? So, I am surprised, very surprised that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, because the people who are writing the simulation that we live in, I thought for sure it would be Breyer, because Breyer is, let me see how old he is. Stephen Breyer. He is 82. He has this secret power that no one remembers him. And it's like 82 years old. That's like significantly older than Biden, who is literally at this moment shitting his pants. So I thought this would be like the twist that no one saw coming, because if Breyer goes, then everyone's like, oh, fuck, that means Bader is like seconds away. And then I thought they'd be real chaos and panic, which is my favorite thing ever. So, but I was wrong. It was the expected outcome, which is Ginsburg dies. Mitch McConnell is brilliant at the Senate. And there's something he's doing that I do not understand. And when someone is smarter than you or more knowledgeable than you at a certain subject, and you don't understand it, my philosophy is I always assume that they know something I don't, as opposed to being, oh, they're stupid. You see this a lot on Twitter. Like, especially like people who think they're friends with me and Tom or me and Dave, and they're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you don't know what you literally don't know what you're talking about. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you're dealing with very limited information. You can't extrapolate from that. So all of us, when it comes to the Senate, are really in Plato's cave. We're dealing with very limited information. Here's why it doesn't make sense to me as a complete outsider. To me, the worst case scenario is if you blow your load, motivate your enemy, and you don't get what you want, and then you motivate them to get what they want. I think that's the worst case scenario, and I think most people agree with this. McConnell, he needs those 51 votes, 50 votes with Pence, right? If it was me, he would get on the phone with the squishes, Romney from Utah, Murkowski of Alaska, and Collins from Maine, who's facing re-election, and apparently it's kind of uphill, and be like, would you consider this? What are your thoughts? Like, that's the first phone call you got to make. And they would say yes or no, or I'll consider it. Let me think about this, Mitch. And then you act accordingly. If you're starting out with 51 votes against you, all saying we're going to try to seat someone is for the Democrats to be able to say with a straight face, we got to get Biden elected. Otherwise, Roe v. Wade is gone forever. They can say this with a straight face. Or then they could say, look, Merrick Garland in 2016, they didn't seat him. When they have the majority, they push through their guy without any kind of background or any kind of research, or their girl, if Amy. This is hypocritical and ridiculous. We have to pack the court. So I think I don't understand his thoughts and Trump's thoughts by saying we're going to try to seat someone what? I mean, the new Senate comes in January, so in the next 3 months, but it's if he doesn't have the votes, I don't see what's the point of showing his hand. I don't get it, but again, he knows something that I don't. So, good times. Here's the other thing. I am very hopeful, as someone who is very interested in, national divorce, to have like Dred Scott, the Dred Scott decision. Let me get the exact year that was. Yeah, 1857. It went from Dred Scott in 1857 to the Civil War in 4 years. Because the Supreme Court is decreasingly recently, but still orders of magnitude more than Congress and the president, is respected in a bipartisan sense. Like, it's very hard. I know there's a hit job on Kavanaugh, but the court as a whole, I think all polls show this out. People respect the judges. They think of them as smart, educated, erudite. They might think they're ideological, but they don't think of them like they think of Trump or McConnell or Biden, a party hack, or Bill Clinton. They don't think of them in the same context. So when you look, and the thing is, the court obviously is the buck stops here. It's a very useful technique. Look at the Republicans. The Republicans didn't have to change their opinion on gay marriage. All that had to happen was the Supreme Court said, well, it's the law of the land in all 50 states. And the Republicans like, what am I going to do? It's the Supreme Court. I guess we lost. Meanwhile, they'll like yell about Roe v. Wade, which is in the 70s, but I don't know. I can't do anything. It's the Supreme Court. So it's a very useful technique for politicians to be forced out of having to make hard choices. If the Supreme Court loses its sense of legitimacy, in the sense that it just becomes blatantly partisan, and one party packs it when they have, the Senate and the presidency, and the other one packs it more, this is a huge step towards our national divorce. In the same way that the Dred Scott decision, which is historically one of by far the most controversial decisions ever, is the claim that, for those you don't know, I just reread it just to be sure I'm saying accurate. This is 1857, and the premise was a slave escaped from a slave state into a free state, and he said, look, I'm on free soil, and you can't take me back to the slave state. Now I'm a citizen, and I should be recognized as such. And the Supreme Court said, nope, you're still the property of your slaveholder back in your home state. What state was he from? Missouri. That's interesting, Missouri. You don't think of that as like a particularly slave state. And what that meant was, if there's slavery anywhere in America, there's slavery everywhere in America. And this was very controversial because the big agreement, and William Lloyd Garrison, I'm looking at his autographed picture above my head right now, the great abolitionist, he was almost lynched in Boston because he was saying slavery is an abomination. And their argument was, look, it's kind of like an abusive relationship, or like a husband cheating on the wife. I look the other way. He has his fun. We have an agreement. Let it go. Right? So it's kind of like, yeah, it's horrible. That's how they do things over there. We're civilized up here. We have a pact to let each other be. Stop making trouble. And when he's like, I am making trouble, this is unconscionable, they almost killed him again in Boston. It's by the hall, which is still there. I forget what it's called, the City Hall. That's not the City Hall, never mind. Anyway, so the point being, when that Dred Scott decision came in a way, that big truce, that national truce, was broken, because now it's like, oh no, 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 you're gonna, if you are a slave and you escape to Boston, it is legal for that slave hunter to go to Boston and put you in chains and bring you back. And this was a very, very big kind of moment in American history, because they're like, okay, this is nuts. This is nuts. Like, we were happy to look the other way when it's over there, but up here. And then 4 years later, there's civil war. And so again, losing the legitimacy or the authority of the Supreme Court, it doesn't get higher. Like, this is the highest in terms of respect, the highest in terms of credibility, the highest in terms of, like, let's all agree that this is what we defer to. We put, in a very specific sense, puts politics aside, and this is kind of our truce. And if that goes away, if it just becomes, we're just going to add 5 people, well, we're adding 10 people, well, we're adding 20 people, then things get very ugly, very, very quickly. And I don't mean Elena Kagan. So that's where I see this heading. I think it's going to be the only answer to this that I can think of, and I'm sure there's others just because I haven't thought of them, is it would be very smart for Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer to sit down and be like, this is fucking nuts. Harry Reid removed the filibuster for court appointees, which had been in place since the founding fathers. And then we removed it for the last step of the Supreme Court. We can't live like this. This is going to be complete brinksmanship. Let's have a constitutional amendment to set the Supreme Court at 9 seats. That would take this away. Other than that, I don't see who's going to blink. And there's too much at stake. Here's something else that really bothered me. I've said this on Twitter. It's very unfortunate when you have somewhat of a platform dealing with people who are perceive language emotionally or are binary thinkers, and when you encounter them, it's just every single time it's just like, why are you here? I had made the point that the Supreme Court of the 3 branches is by far the most radical, right? And lots of boomer cons were like, oh, how are they radical? Just because radical is bad, Supreme Court is good, or something, whatever it was, or like Nancy Pelosi's more, whatever. The point being, the decisions the Supreme Court was making, like the political speech decision, what was the case where with the Hillary Clinton movie, and they struck down all limits basically political free speech. That is something no Republican would ever dream of putting forward with a straight face in the Senate. The fact that they were ready to strike down Obamacare by 1 vote. The Supreme Court hasn't struck down major legislation since before FDR. They were 1 vote away from striking down Obamacare, which was passed with supermajorities in both houses. That is radical stuff. And by radical, I mean away from the mainstream of political thought. So we're going into, and especially with this premise of constitutionalism and strict constructionism, which basically says, it's a very radical approach. It's like, we can ignore like 200 plus years of common law or have it subordinate and just go straight back to the original document, which is a very different perspective, and a very recent perspective in many ways, compared to like, okay, the Constitution is the basis, but our understanding of it has evolved, and we have to look at that evolution. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. Let me go and see some of these chats, and then we could talk a little bit more. Are you surprised that RBG couldn't last past the election? I am very surprised. I think this is, I mean, she's a tough cookie. And again, I thought Breyer was going to go first. With the passing of RBG and Breyer old, are there any others who could step away in the next 4 to 5 years? Yeah, Clarence Thomas is no spring chicken. And if you look at the actuarial tables for African-American males, he's, doing pretty, not so good. What else we got here? Incredibly sad that RBG passed away so young, younger than the median COVID death. I mean, I don't think Sotomayor's diabetes is going to help her with the COVID. Dinesh said on Glenn Beck this weekend, the U.S. is headed to the divorce, and this is the best solution. Glenn Beck was surprised and disturbed by this idea. 2016. I'm one of the first ones to put this out there, so I'm very happy that that's become mainstreamed. I think it's less persuasion, more risk management. 269, 4 is too possible. Roberts might not be trustworthy. Okay. Did the Civil War's prevention of secession lead to a more oppressive future than if slavery were to go on? Because capitalism may have eliminated anyway. I mean, this is Monday morning quarterbacking. Certainly, the costs of the Civil War were enormous, which no one would deny. The fact that you had martial law for the South, the fact that the slaves were basically made into sharecroppers and treated like complete garbage is something no one's happy about. So this is it's a chaos theory. You can easily imagine it making things worse. You can easily imagine it making things better. What we do have is the elimination of slavery, which is no minor accomplishment. So the cost is just very, very high. Scott didn't escape. His master brought him to a free state. Oh, okay. Thank you for that correction. Oh, he sued in court for that freedom. Right. Okay. So he basically said, oh, you brought me here. Psych. I'm free. Explain to my girlfriend, Ashley, that I'm always right and she should always acquiesce to my arguments. But you're not always right. Just finished listening to the new Right for the second time. Excellent performance. Can't wait for a Camus book. It's not going to be it's not going to be about Camus. It's just going to be the white pill. It's going to be the book I thought Camus had written and hadn't. But we'll talk more about that in the next stream once I can announce my news. Okay, what's this? Nico. Here's more money for the same question. Was the Civil War worth it to end slavery quicker? I don't know. I mean, the point is, the outcome is not this unambiguous good. If you look at how blacks were treated afterwards. I just finished reading a book about worth it to whom is the question. The fact that the South is a perpetual whipping boy is not really what the founding fathers and the country is all about. That's a problem. The fact that it in many ways fueled racial resentments is also a problem. I think peaceful solutions are much more conducive towards healthy human relationships than imposing them. Okay. I learned she died when I saw a new glowing documentary about her the same day she died. The left's propaganda can be measured in Planck time. That documentary was happened a while ago, so that's not new. And that book about her, The Notorious RPG, was a bestseller for many years. If the world were opposite, whatever you would be revered as a cookie fun figure by the MSN and would be invited on Sesame Street. Okay. In what world would your segment be about, and with who would it be? Also, you're really cool. In what world? In that world, what would my Sesame Street segment? I like the pinball stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Sesame Street. I don't. Hold on. I was a big fan of that. I was an Electric Company fan too. I'm showing my age. Trump can roll defending American critical theory into the need for patriotic replacement of the Supreme Court. No. There's no ASAP. I don't understand. They don't have the numbers. They don't have the numbers. I don't understand this. Because if you're losing the three of them, you have to have a solid 50. And I don't see it. Do you really blow off civilians that try to talk to you in public? No. What? No, I don't. Also, please talk about how Trump's list has many people under 50. What do you want me to say? I don't know what you want me to say. They do. I don't know. I don't know what you want. Thank you, Sebastian. Okay. What if we just gave Romney whatever he wanted? Something big. It would be huge if Trump can get this done before Election Day. I think Romney is as spiteful as Trump, and he will relish having the power to deny Trump, just like McCain refused to vote to eliminate Obamacare when he had that opportunity. Haha, I love that you almost slipped. I don't know what that's in. Lefties freaking out about losing gay marriage, among other things, as if Trump's not the first pro-gay president. Okay. They should be freaking out. If the Supreme Court goes 6-3, they're fucked in many, many, many ways. All this stuff with the universities, with the racism codified, that's gone. very quickly. Clarence Thomas has been champing at the bit for this for decades. So they should be absolutely terrified. This would really be the end for them in many ways. Opinion on Palestine, Israel. Ultra Zionism. Have you read anything by Will and Ariel Durant? I have not. I'm a John Durant person. How do I get a girlfriend? I would say probably lose some weight, get a high status job, put yourself in target. Go on. Here's what you do. Here's actually a good technique. Get some pictures of someone on Facebook who is pretty good looking, not a model and not fake photo, like just candid photos. Make that profile on Tinder or whatever app the kids use, and figure out how to get good game. Do A/B testing, try different things. And that will be and it'll also be good for your self-esteem. Don't go on the actual dates, but this is a good way to figure out what kind of conversation the women are receptive to, assuming you're a male. You were going to say the announcement and caught yourself. No. After writing your book, then you write, are you surprised Trump is gaining among Hispanics and black voters 2 years later? I don't think he's gaining as much as the boomer cons want to think he is. Like at all. Any thoughts on the Ayn Rand Institute? I feel bad for them because I feel like they're kind of locked into the over-the-top reverence of Rand, which does not comport to reality and which is not necessary. You can criticize someone and acknowledge them as being a flawed person and still acknowledge them as being a profound hero. So in the event of a divorce, how many successor states do you imagine arising from the formerly United States? I have no clue whatsoever. No clue whatsoever. Okay, last one. What forms of indoctrination influence you? That's a good question. I wouldn't know, right? At this point, that's a great question. I think, wouldn't I be oblivious to it? I think. Can you suggest some good books on anarchy? Sorry, I DM'd you. I don't see my DMs. I use that as a roach motel. I just really need some book suggestions. Sure, that's an easy one. Get this. This is what you need. And from there, you can just rabbit hole. There's also a book called Patterns of Anarchy from the 60s, which has the different schools of anarchy. I haven't read it in a very long time, but I remember it being quite good. It's a paperback. See the Hill editorial suggesting Michelle Obama for Ginsburg's seat in the court. I'm assuming that's a Babylon Bee article. It's amazing. Are you reading Moldbug's new work? I am not. Okay, let me tell you. I was just taking a shower before I did this stream, and Moldbug did something that triggered my autism. And there's a series of books that I read in high school or junior high by someone named Piers Anthony, who's like a very prolific and not very good writer, but when you're like 14, you think he's great. And he had a series of books called the Apprentice Adept series. And the premise of these books is there's this bifurcated world, and one half of it's all magic, and one half of it is all science, right? And you had basically each character had a parallel in the other half of the world. And in the magic half, you had all these wizards, like, and they're named after colors. So there's the orange wizard, or I don't remember what the title was, but there's orange and purple and whatever. And the black, and each color had their own type of magic. So I remember one of them, I think was the black one, had his line magic, like he was basically Harold the Purple Crayon. And at their point, Piers Anthony ran out of colors. And then the one was called Translucent Adept, and his magic was bubbles. And 30 years later, I'm still triggered because that's not a color. So when Moldbug talks about the clear pill, that really bothers me. Although from what I heard of it, I think I agree with it entirely. But the name really triggers me. Last straw that pushed U.S. divorce as the best solution to the mainstream. Is the U.S. divorce a wait? Last straw that pushed U.S. divorce. I don't understand that first question. Is the U.S. divorce a white pill and why? How is it a white pill? It hasn't happened. That's not what a white pill is. No, it's not a white pill at all. A white pill is something good that has happened that is reason for hope. I could not for the life of me why so many people were triggered by your Anne Frank joke. I thought it was kind of wholesome. People are uncomfortable when you do not treat subjects that should be treated with reverence and respect with a lack of reverence and respect. But they need to get over it. Especially because Anne Frank is making like hooker jokes in her diary. What was the best thing RBG did for this country? I think she inspired a lot of female young lawyers, and I don't think that's a minor deal. If we have a national divorce, do you move to Boomer Contopia or stay in de Blasio and Steroidville, New York City? De Blasio's out next year. And in the same way that people think like the West is done, like they're writing off New York, I went to Austin because a lot of my crew are moving to Austin. It fucking sucked. But at the same time, it sucked for the same reasons New York is currently sucking. Like everything's shut down. So I would have to learn how to drive, and I would not be averse to leaving New York. But I'm not going where the fucking boomer cons are. I can't fucking do it. I can't do it. Don't put that in my head. Fuck, marry, kill. Kamala, RBG, Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, obviously you want to marry RBG because she's going to die in a year. And then you fuck Ghislaine because she's got to have some magic pussy if she's convincing these girls to have sex with Jeffrey Epstein. That's a no-brainer. Give me some hard choices. How do you thin Alyssa Milano is doing? Not thin at all. The problem with Ayn Rand and ARIs on foreign policy, they're basically neocons. I don't think that's the entirety of their problem. I think the problem is they basically have all these rhetorical techniques to not talk about things they don't want to talk about. Like, oh, it's of no metaphysical significance. The first page of the new right, I'm talking to Yaron Brook, and he goes, I'm more interested in Ayn Rand's biography, in philosophy, than I am in her biography. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Especially when Rand always said that if you think the people I write about don't exist, you're looking at them, and pointing to herself. So this is ridiculous. This is the prize the right has been chasing for generations. They squander and fail. I don't see them recovering for decades. No. Okay, now you got me going. There's this idea people have, and I say this as like someone who's like somewhat successful in being self-employed and that I don't have to have a boss, that you have one shot, like getting a book agent or getting on TV or getting on this, and if you blow your shot, you're fucked for life. This is something we all think when we're young. It is one of the most despicable, stupid ideas. I'm not saying you're saying this, but this reminds me of it. It's not that way at all. I've had like several books that never got published. I'm fine. So you think you have that one shot. If you are a talented person, or if you have a lot of stamina, you will have many opportunities, some better than others. And some would have been great if you had them. It's okay. Stick it out. So anytime you think America or this is based on this one thing or else you're ruined, I completely disagree. Because otherwise that means you really wouldn't be able to sustain it anyway. If you are only so talented that if unless you get this one break, you could never get another gig, you're not that talented. No one has more fun on Twitter than you. Thanks for last night. True. This is very true. Sorry, I meant that people invited on Sesame Street are usually invited on to teach children about issues in a way they understand. I imagine you come in in a Willy Wonka suit and talk about leaving people alone. No, I would probably talk about fish. I learned first time I started talking was when my parents took me to an aquarium. So I would teach them about aquariums. That would be an easy one. I know Mr. Rogers has one, but his is all pleb shit. No matter how I try, can't see how anarchism isn't an ideology for tards. Can you give me a brief pitch? Well, then you'd be a tard, wouldn't you? How do anarchists square with Hobbes? We're the opposite. I can't give you a pitch. I'm not a Democrat in the sense of lowercase d. I'm not a numbers person. So if you don't think it's for you, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not one for reading or any of your books, audiobooks. Unfortunately, there's no way of finding out. In a 6-3 court swing in the conservatives' favor, is there any chance Roe v. Wade gets overturned like liberals are shrieking? Yes. Yes, I think there's a very significant chance. I think a good argument can be made very easily that something of this significance should not be done on a judicial level, but should be done on a legislative level. I don't think it's a very hard argument to make at all. Do you consider yourself well-versed enough for anarchy for educating others? I don't think I'm capable of educating others because I think very few people are receptive to hearing it. How likely is it that at some point in the future, some hacker or foreign government will be able to publish every United States citizen's entire internet history? I don't know. I'm a boomer. Are you kidding me? I couldn't figure out how to get. I have no idea. You're talking to like a grandfather. Whatever's the funniest answer. Anne Frank has the world record for hide and seek. See, that joke would have been funny like when I first heard it 10 years ago. The joke was that Osama bin Laden took her record. And then that went away too, obviously. You see the future. You see you will be stuck on an island for a decade with only one person. It's either Tucker Max, Chris from Modern Wisdom, or Dave Smith. Oh, it's got to be Chris. Yeah, that's gonna be easy. That's an easy one. Because he'd also be good at like building shelter and hunting and stuff. Last straw meaning what was happened for someone like Dinesh to consider. These are I don't. Okay. I don't know. Last straw meaning what has happened for someone like Dinesh to consider divorce as the best solution. Oh, I think the realization for I can't speak for Dinesh. If I had to guess, and this is me talking completely out of my ass, even more so, I would guess when he sees the disparity, because he's a law and order guy. He's a boomer. He's king of the boomer cons probably. When he sees the riots, right, and then being told that not only are they not happening, but they're a good thing, and this and the fact from his perspective, not complete entirely, that Black Lives Matter is totally Marxist and the 1619 Project. At this point, he's like, okay, this isn't like Joe Biden. This is something very brazen and radical, and there's no talking here. That's what I would guess. I think it's, I don't know, that's not one last straw, but those would probably be the last few. And also, I think people like him are really disturbed by how complacent Americans are being with this quarantine. Doesn't fit into his vision of Americans, in my opinion, if I had to guess. What do you get when you cross a state-sanctioned murder victim with a Supreme Court justice, a baby Ruth? Okay, okay. Can you explain the crossover of Italians and Jews at Compound Media? What? Oh, you mean like Gino and Aaron? Dave's not Jewish. Landau. Pat's not Jewish or Italian. He's an Irishman. I have no. The solution to the SCOTUS problem is Unity 2020. And Joe Jorgensen should give in to Brett Weinstein hitting on her. Yeah, hey, listen, if a bat can bite you, why not a professor? Don't forget, guys, America had fascism under Woodrow Wilson, true, and light fascism under FDR, true. The fire in a crowded theater, it was about anti-war protests. You can't yell anything in a crowded theater or in a not crowded theater. It is a property rights issue. It's not a public health issue. You can't yell anything in my house either. Is Roe v. Wade not moot with medical science pushing back the data viability? No, I don't think that's true at all. I don't think one has to do with the other, and that's certainly not how it's played. You are so Gen X, it's silly. Okay. Will there be election fraud? All elections are a fraud. Breyer dies on November 3rd, and announcements made on Fox as polls close. As polls close in the West Coast states. It has to happen like this. Stranger things have happened. Can the Supreme Court block court blocking? No. When and how did you come to the conclusion that the progressives want you dead but will settle for your submission? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. When did I come to this realization? I've had it for a very long time. I don't have a good answer for you, and I'm sorry. It's been at least 10 years, but significantly more. Okay. Let me get some more drink. So I want to give you guys some good news, which is something you all requested. Um, Here's the other thing. Okay. Book recommendations on Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, The Illusion of Victory is a good one. And there's another. The books about him are really tough because they're often like tedious to read. So he's you get pieces of him in books about other people. Tuesday on You're Welcome, we have Dave Smith coming back. So I'm very, very happy about that. I was out to dinner with a bunch of my people yesterday. We were at a sushi place outside. It was a good time. And a lot of times, like I'll have like an idea, and I'm like, okay, this is your ego talking. And I don't think it was. I said to them, I go, I think there's more excitement for the at least on Twitter, for the possibility of me being the Libertarian Party Twitter than there is excitement about George Jorgensen. And I'm like, this is my pompous ego talking. And they go, no. You're like, that's 100% the case. Favorite midwit. God. Favorite midwit. Who's a good midwit? I can't think of any. Because if it's a midwit, it usually, God damn it, who's? I don't know. I can't think of any that I have like marginally positive feelings toward. Your mom, that's stupid. Somewhat related to the last question, do you know when you were red pilled yourself? Oh yeah, that was like kindergarten. Like if you read Ego and Hubris, I don't use the term red pill, but you could see it's there. You are Jew God. You have the faith of. Is this fun for you people? You have the faith of humanity in your hands. Why is it humanity if it's just the chosen people? A region of your choice is destroyed with everyone in it. Where and why? Well, California. Give me some hard questions. Come on, What are your thoughts on Unity 2020? It's embarrassingly bad. Just horror. It's so stupid in every way, and it's something I'm completely opposed to. I'm for divorce. What type of stance do you use when deadlifting? I'm imagining sumo. You don't have to imagine. Michael Wolf, who is a strength competitor, he gave me a good deadlift lesson. It's the regular. I do the whatever this is called. He's got it broken down to the steps, feet shoulder width apart, bar halfway across the feet. Then you lock in, pull back your shoulders, drag it up, lock your back, drag it down. But I just got deadlifting things because my shins are all bloody right now. Because after 6 months, it's just scraped me up something fierce. Michael, can you speak for a minute on Hitler's main adversary being Marxists in Europe? Is this factual? Well, it depends what you mean by adversary. I don't know that that's necessarily accurate. I think that's certainly what they posited, not Marxist, communist, which is not the same thing. He also had a lot of obvious opposition from the business community in certain aspects, international, foreign norms. So, I mean, would I say that they're the Marxist? No, because he made the pact. So that was a lot of talk about that. But when push came to shove, that really wasn't his priority at first. Yes, 100% true about Libertarian Party Twitter. Where can I learn about the new right? What? I don't understand, Charlie. You know where you can learn about the new right. Is the noble savage theory the foundation for left-wing delusion? Oh, yeah. Rousseau is where it starts. Rousseau is where it starts. He really is the first idealist in the sense of the idea precedes reality in terms of politics. Ha, that reaction. Glad you enjoyed it. With your experience with North Korea, what is your opinion on the walls closing in the Chinese citizens? I mean, I'm mortified and horrified and very disturbed. And the fact that they made those moves on Hong Kong and no one seems to be talking about it to the extent they should is very, very upsetting to me. Very much so. Thank you, proper suiting. 50 million people, so California, Oregon, and Washington, I guess. Oh, no. I'm going to nuke California twice. I'm God, remember, in this scenario? I asked the leading frog Twitter account, and he said the IDW are funny because they're like senators calling for peace while Fort Sumter is being shelled. Agreed? I don't think that I don't think that the IDW is calling for peace. That's not been my experience. It depends who you define as being in the IDW. I don't think that's true at all. Thank you, Cliff. Okay, we're almost cut up. Consensus was rioting, attacking neighborhoods used to have the opposite effect and turn people against the cause. Do you think this is still the case? Yes, very much so. If you saw Nancy Pelosi just recently went on the floor of the House and started denouncing these riots, she wouldn't have done that unless they had some internal polling that was like, this is looking really bad for us. And how can it not? What two animals would you like to switch the sounds they make? What two animals? I don't. This is a great question. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sorry. I know too many animals is the problem. What McConnell knows that you don't, he only needs 50 votes. Oh, I didn't know that? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's just, okay, that person got blocked. What is a recent event that made you reconsider your belief system on some level? Probably becoming an uncle. Being an uncle now and seeing my friends with their kids, I think about them every day. And it makes me a lot more understanding of this need to create this kind of shield around them. So I think that's changed my priorities. What do you think of Paul Kenger's book? I haven't read it. Don't care if these aren't easy questions I'm saying. Well, I feel like I'm cheating you not having an answer. You know, so I feel like I'm being a bit of a fraud. Fuck, marry, kill, Polly Thatcher, Ashley St. Clair. Ooh, this is tough. This is tough. I don't want to kill any of them. Fuck. You have to marry Ashley. So who am I? Ugh, I don't want to fuck the others. Fuck. Shit, this is tough. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, I can marry Polly. I don't have to sleep with her because she's a lesbian. So you marry Polly, you fuck Ashley, and you kill Thatcher. There you go. Opinion. Modern Western metropolitan progressive culture equals behavioral sync. Okay. My wife wants a chameleon to sound like a lion. Well, wouldn't that be defeating the point of it being a chameleon? Do you use a bidet or a squatty potty? I do not. I just have my dog go to town. Thanks for the cave and the light. It was excellent. I squatted 250 on Friday. What's your squat? I haven't squatted in 6 months. So I am going very slow so I cannot cheat in form, go full ass to ground, and building back up. I think I'm only up to like 100, something pathetic. But it's only been twice since I've been back. But that is you're directly going to Dom City if you're going hard on squats right away. And that's per Michael Wolf's suggestion. Could you please go back and finish my $10 question? What was it? Where was it? Jesus fucking Christ. It's gone now. Sorry. Humpback whales and cats. Humpback whales can stun you with their vocalization. I don't want cats to have that power. As an old guy, I'm shocked by how many people seem to be defeated by life. Is it because they didn't expect it to suck because they were shielded? No, I think because they were lied to. I think they're told if you act a certain way, you're going to be popular and rewarded and swimming in pussy and rich. And when that doesn't come out, they don't come through. They don't know what to do. So I think that is a large part of it. Also, social media makes it really easy to see how many of your peers are making it happen. So when that doesn't happen, it's kind of defeating. So I think that kind of has a lot to do with it. Plus, it's a lot easier to be vocal about being defeated. And also, as our culture bifurcates and you see the other side more powerful than perhaps it is, that also is kind of discouraging for many people. Rand said something like, the powers that be will try to make you laugh at everything so nothing is sacred anymore and you yourself become worthless. What is sacred to you besides candles? How are candles sacred to me? What? What is sacred to me? Just because I'm laughing at something doesn't mean it's not sacred. If you mean things I wouldn't make fun of, there's nothing. As I talk about in the book, I have a whole chapter about irreverent humor with examples. In terms of what's sacred to me, I mean, my values, I think, are pretty kind of transparent. You're not the Messiah. You're a very naughty boy. Okay. What are the chances that Kamala's favorite position is not ironically doggy style? She's a pig. God, you guys are being weird today. What 2-hour chunk of history would you want a video of? You could have a video of any point in history. Well, probably the crucifixion, don't you think? I think that would be kind of a it's just a blank tape. Thank you, Dylan. Do you think there are any books, arts, incidents of history that all educated people should be familiar with? No. Are you plus or minus on a shared culture canon? No, I'm minus. I don't think that's necessary. I'm an anarchist, so. What is a bigger political reality, Unity 2020 or libertarianism? If you mean the Libertarian Party, if you mean libertarianism, 100% libertarianism. If you mean the Libertarian Party, it's also the Libertarian Party. Joe Jorgensen's getting in some of the polls. I don't even know if the Unity 2020 is a candidate. How much money will it take for you to be RBG for Halloween this year? Oh, fuck, that's a great question. I would do it for... Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, we're the same size. I would do it for $1,000, and the person would have to pay. Well, they're not much of a cost. They pay for the dress and the wig and the glasses. Yeah, I would do it for $1,000. What are your thoughts on Nixon besides the toasting mouth thing? I absolutely despise him. I think he's a horrible, horrible person, horrible president. The one good thing about him was his red baiting, but that wasn't even sincere. And the Aldrahis stuff, he's just really the quintessential sellout. And just a nasty guy, and not in a good way. If Klobuchar ever managed to become president, and assuming the rumors of her abusing her staff are true, who would you like most likely to see in her cabinet? Ooh. And which office supplies would you like to see them beaten? I would say hand in the shredder. And who would I most like to see? Who is... I feel like it's funny in a disturbing way when big men are abused by women because they can't really fight back, and we kind of dismiss it, even though abuse is much more psychological than physical. So I think there's a comical aspect of this 5'1" woman pushing around some dude, even though when you sit back and take a step back, you're like, this isn't funny at all. This is really sick, and no one sympathized with him, even though he's being abused. Who would I like to see her? Oh, I would love to see her go Baby Jane with Biden. And he's trapped upstairs in the White House and he can't get down from his wheelchair. I think that might be pretty funny. IDW seems like a bunch of Zeocons to me. What are your thoughts? If only. Some new right think Holocaust was motivated by anti-communism more than equal to racial hatred. No. That's no. That's absolutely not the case. If anything, they were upset. Their claims were that the Jews were too business-oriented in running the industry. Have you ever tried swimming for working out? Yes, I'm terrible at it, and I hate it. And I talk about this in Ego and Hubris. I despise it. You doing the announcement? I am not. I have to wait till Monday. Thank you, Kevin. Good last name. Thank you for saying the crucifixion tape would be blank. Fact, it was a joke. It was a joke. Let's calm down. I'm just joking. Not joking. Have you read Yarvin's new chapter? I have not. I'm not reading his stuff right now. Okay. But you are Joe. For those who don't know this reference, this is a brilliant one. It's a very, very funny one. Fuck, Mary, Kill, Lauren Chen, Ashley, and Michaela Peterson. Okay. I'd have to marry Ashley, fuck Michaela, and kill Lauren. Sorry, I love you all. I'm sure you don't care. Thank you, White Knight. Mike, who's Mike? How much of the unrest we're seeing today can be tied directly to social media? Directly, very little. Very, very, very little. in my opinion. Has the IDW achieved anything besides growing their wealth? I don't know who you think the IDW are, or like how you're defining the term. Yeah, I think if you're talking about like Rubin and Rogan and Jordan Peterson, I mean, I don't think I have any profound insights into their accomplishments, but I think their accomplishments are enormous in terms of moving this culture. I don't understand how you could see otherwise. Can you expound a bit on your thoughts on Energy 2020? I'm torn with you because I'm an anarchist on principle. Being practical within the current system, what do? Explain to me how you think Unity 2020 is practical. Like literally, how is it practical? Donald Trump showed that some random asshole can seize the well-established party apparatus from either party. So how is some party no one's heard of that has the most corporate stupid name ever going to be practical within the current system, which is designed to marginalize at all costs third parties? Do you think Jeff Deist is right about Roberts and Gorsuch or Kavanaugh siding with Democrats against Trump? Because I don't know what he says about this because of the pressure from Democrats. I don't know what he says at all. And I will defer to his judgment. Would U.S. and Russia fight together versus China? I don't know. It would depend on the circumstances. Putin is a snake. He's going to pick the winner. I mean, it would depend on the reasons, don't you think? What if he nominated Merrick Garland? He's not that different from Kavanaugh and might defang some of the criticism. The criticisms, in my view, aren't going to be based on procedural criticisms. They're going to be on personal. They're going to be procedural, and they're right to do them. How are the ladies treating you? Ugh, don't ask. Pedophilia is clearly wrong, but I can't figure out exactly why. Assuming you agree, why? Well, I think you should experiment a bit and see how you feel after. Would you rather ghostwrite with Obama or Hillary? Explain. Oh, Hillary. Because by all accounts, she's much funnier off camera. And she's a loon, so it'd be fascinating to see the mask drop. That's an easy one. DPRK destroyed 2 Chinese fishing boats. Thoughts? That's not good to know. I hadn't heard about this, but it's the claims that the North Korea and China are basically two sides of the same coin have always been false and are overrated, and unfortunately the case. Israel over Palestine. Have you expanded this nowhere on this nowhere? Anywhere? Oh, no, not particularly. I'm not that informed about the subject, but what are your thoughts on Howard Zinn? Oh, he's horrible. There's just a book I recently read taking him down. I think it's called Destroying Howard Zinn, whatever. I mean, his lies. America's not destroyed. America's not destroyed at all. He's a literal communist, and it's communist propaganda. And it's going to be very useful in the future, in the same way that if you hear someone reads Eat, Pray, Love, you know exactly who you're dealing with, right? If you see someone reads Howard Zinn, especially in education, you know they're the enemy. So it's a very, very useful signal. And that the fact that the president understands this now is very hopeful for this country. South Park. It's my favorite New York City Jews. Also, do you think if when we balkanize, there will be an ethnic component? No, I really don't. I think it would be. I think because each of these fragmented countries would be so interested in appearing legitimate in the eyes of the world that they're gonna and one side's gonna accuse the other of being racist. They're gonna bend over backwards not to have that happen, in my opinion. Because outside Biden, Trump, who would you pair for a 4-hour Joe Rogan podcast from any 2 living people? Kamala and Tulsi is a low-hanging fruit. 2 living people. It would be really fun. Hillary Clinton and Juanita Broderick. Those are 2 easy answers, I think. Sometimes on Twitter you say, "I'm sorry this happened to you." Is there a deeper meaning or story behind that phrase? I'm not trying to be glib, but no. It's just contemptuous dismissal. I don't think it's originally me. Ghostwrite for Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro. Ben. This is easy. Ben's a bright guy, and he would be very receptive to the content I would contribute, I think. IDW includes the Weinsteins, Peterson, and Shapiro. I can't imagine anyone saying Ben Shapiro hasn't contributed anything to this country, and I'm not a particular Ben Shapiro fan, let alone Jordan Peterson. I'm not familiar with the Weinstein's work. Tucker's show, current situation equals color revolution. True? I don't think it's necessarily true. I don't think we're having a revolution at all. Wanting to write an anti-doomer black pill book myself, but in fictional novel form with a story I've been sitting on for years. I know fiction isn't your forte, but any tips that can help. You're fucking yourself up. It's almost impossible to get an audience for novels. Like don't do it. Write it as essays, is my opinion. You're just going to be very frustrated. What's your favorite book by a public figure in the last 5 years? None come to mind. If you go to Goodreads, mygoodreads.com, you can sort those by rating. The Andrew Ridgeley autobiography was really good. I was surprised by how good it was because he's totally self-aware in it. But I don't know if that was that good. Wouldn't it be great if Trump called Kamala and offered to interview her for the seat? Just imagine the LOLs. In theory, but then she'd go on TV and be like, I turned him down. How do you feel about Futurama? It really outlived its welcome. Is a U.S. divorce possible without civil war? Czechoslovakia, Brexit, Ireland. These are all these things happen all the time. This is a lie that has to have a civil war. Blair White and Candace Owens. Oh, they would be fun together. Chat questions have been lame this weekend, me included. Why is this one red? I don't understand. I thought thoughts on Trump taking CRT. Do you think it will have more harm having a Streisand effect? No. I think it's a very good idea. Now, it's going to backfire because he doesn't have the power to do this, but having them realize that people are onto their bullshit and they're willing to push back, I think it's very, very healthy. With antitrust discussions and law in discussions with big tech, how do Mises Institute folks go about making arguments against intervention with new monopolies? I don't know. Ask them. I have no idea. Who's going to push for balkanization first? It would have to be someone outside politics because politicians are not in a position to push for it. Hillary Clinton has a sense of humor. Yeah, she's made jokes about killing Vince Foster. This is like if someone's bad, sense of humor is good. Therefore, the bad person can't have a sense of humor. Yeah, she has a very good sense of humor. Now, in her public persona, it's terrible. But behind the scenes, she supposedly has a wicked sense of wit. Who amongst the contemporary journalists do you have the most contempt for? Well, all of them, but I mean, all of them. Why? I mean, you know why. Who do I have particular contempt for? The guy who runs Time Magazine, I forget his name, just recently, like he was, anytime there's a criticism of him, he blames on racism, even though he's super wealthy and Indian. It's like, okay, you're fucking appropriating oppression just because of your fucking bullshit arguments. I came for him on Twitter and I completely wiped the floor with him. So he's a big one. I'm gonna bounce at another 15. RIP. I want to write it more for myself though. If you're writing for yourself, you don't need my advice. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a tough situation. How do you make Trump versus Biden moderated by Rogan more lulzy? I feel getting Louis J. Gomez somehow to assist moderating would be a good answer. I know how. It's easy. Have me and Dave feed him some questions. And it would be absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Trump and any media person on CNN on Oregon. On Rogan? May I please have a welcome? Okay. Your opinion about social dilemma. I don't know what it is. So I don't have an opinion. I kind of knew it, but it really creeped me out. Love your Twitter. Thank you. I love my Twitter too. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. The theory. Some people who foment protests, set up NGOs, and publish destabilizing media in Eastern Europe are using the same tactics in US. For example, Norman Eisen. Okay. You stumble on a lotto ticket and win $1 million. No one knows. What would you do or change? I'd probably just get a house, condo. I don't think I would change that much. $1 million? Yeah, I'd probably just get a condo. There's nothing I really kind of need or want. Like, if I want something that's like a book, I spite fund it. I travel a fair amount. That's not that expensive. So money loses utility pretty quick. If I were Trump, I'd say things like Biden has no rape allegations. So the fact checkers would have to say there are. No, they wouldn't. You think these people are subject to some premise of fairness or objectivity? They're not. Don't you get it? What would you say as Trump? That I'm going to nuke California. Will the left's spite put Trump on Mount Rushmore? If so, will they use sandstone for a skin? No, I think Mount Rushmore is a done deal, and I think they should just make a Mount Trump that's bigger than Mount Rushmore. Come on. Okay. There's a lot more of you, so there's a lot more questions, and I'm all out of breath. Let me try some more of this stuff. Why did I do that? It's not good. There's something. Oh, so those of you who are in my locals group, which I hope you all join. It's free to join. malice.locals.com. Something I ordered recently, which I'm going to be reading on a next stream, is there was a Nazi book by the guy who invented the Daily Stormer. And this was considered extreme by Nazi standards because he was openly advocating for genocide, which many of them were kind of tacit about. And there's a book called The Poisonous Mushroom for Children, which teaches them to be anti-Semites. I'm getting a copy in the mail, and I'll go through it, and it's going to be very, very interesting to read. Okay. I'm going to start doing these a bit more. What will happen to the GOP after Trump? That is a great question. I have no way of knowing. We can easily see it going several ways, right? It could revert to the mean, or they can try to out-Trump Trump. We are in such a avalanche situation politically and culturally that I am not going to be able to predict 3 years from now at all. You missed mine. Okay, what is yours? What do you think is the most positively influential contemporary public intellectual? Probably Rogan, right? Just because he normalizes red pill thought. I would say Rogan. I have a feeling some of these blue cities might go for Giuliani type. Yeah, I think that's a very. People didn't want Giuliani because they want Giuliani. They want Giuliani because democracy often works by just voting against what you currently have. How do we help boomer cons? No. There's no helping them. Sorry, dude. Serrana, I'm not joking. They have no minds, no capacity for thought, no interest for thought. They're a complete lost cause. Write them off. They're literally, it's just a bunch of slogans. There's no, or maybe there is. I can't help you. Chaos option. Russia court pick. Backlash caused Democrats to win. Democrats back the court, turning the court into a joke. That's playing with fire. I think that's playing with fire. Shot in the dark here. Since the late announcement, would you have time for that garden interview? No, I don't have time. You'll see. I'm currently very swamped. By the way, I'm going to I'm going to Boston next. Friday to do Lex Friedman's show. So if anyone thinks of anything that'd be fun for me to do, can you please just drop it in my locals? That'll be fun. It's gonna be. We had he interviewed me before. He didn't use the footage. But this is going to be a hoot and a half. So it's going to be a lot of. He's a really, really smart dude. It's going to be really exciting. Do you agree with Dave Smith? There's an October surprise waiting for Trump by corporate media. No, I mean there's always an October surprise, but I think the October surprise might be about Biden or Kamala. To be honest, best New York City mayor of your lifetime. There's only like 4. There's Koch, Dinkins, Giuliani, Bloomberg, and now there's 5. De Blasio. It's, of those 5, it's clearly Giuliani. Oh, all right, guys. I am going to. Thank you, Dreadnought. I am going to. What's something I want to show you guys? Reportedly, Elon RGB's last words were, "I just pooped my pants." LOL. Okay. Okay, guys. I'm going to head out. I'm going to leave this up. I will have news Monday. Hope you all had some fun. And yeah, get back to. I'm gonna get back to work on this upcoming book, and having some carnage on Twitter. That's really gonna be amazing. So talk soon, folks. Oh, just want to get that in. Thank you, Appliance Bear.